A couple of years ago, I did a very similar thing like this. I did it with a bird called a ruddy turnstone. And I never looked at Frank's tape that he took the night that I introduced it, because I was getting ready to do this, so I thought maybe I ought to see what I said last time. Basically, it's going to be pretty much like the one we did that time. We're talking about, we're going to do a bird on a stick, and I'm just going to show you how we get to it. First of all, some of the criteria for doing a bird in a group like this is that I think, there's no pressure, but most people know what this bird is. Minnesota, you can be anywhere in the United States and you see this bird. You can be out of the country. It's called a killdeer, and it's one with a double stripe. Now, as a birder myself, and I was the other gentleman that's in here, right here. When you study shorebirds, rather than just run out there and look at them all, you need a bird that can be the keystone, the one you're comparing all the other ones to. In this country, it's this bird, because everybody knows it, and everybody knows approximately the size of it, and they're very accessible. They're usually all over the place. So then all the other birds you look at, you would compare them to the coloration, when this is a rather graphically marked bird, and size. It's not tiny, there are littler ones. So this is kind of this is the one that most people know, and so they can, all the other shorebirds you can compare to them. Also, they're not especially hard to paint. You can make them as simple or as hard as you like. I'm just going to show you these. I'm just going to pass these around. So obviously, the colors you see here are not necessarily what you're going to see there. And does everybody know about one of the things that this bird does as a defensive measure? If you get too close to a nest or where they're nesting, you suddenly have a bird in exquisite pain, dragging his wing across, and you are supposed to just stupidly follow him off like a predator would. But the color on the tail is rather colorful. Obviously, it grabs your attention. But I'm just going to pass these. Just pass them and take a look at them. I got them on Google Images. And is there anybody here that doesn't know about looking up photographs of stuff on Google? Okay. Killdeer. Bing. Up comes this thing and it says Images. Hit Images. And you're better prepared to spend about a half hour looking at a lot of things. So that's stuff you can do for your own edification. All right, let's get moving. Okay, now the pattern that I've done for this one was taken off of this bird right here. It's a pretty good standard pose. So I use that. I then, okay. Did a pattern drawing on this, of this same thing. On your papers, you're going to see a cut line. Don't cut it. I don't mean to cut it off. So when you go to make your pattern, this bird's going to have a head that's attached. So the front of the pattern will be, are they seeing this anywhere? Behind me?
I can see it.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the front of the bird. And they're on an angle because of the way they're standing. And the head will sit on this. Now, if you remember when Tom has talked about when you put a head up with a wooden dowel on a bird, it's much easier to do it if it's parallel 90 degrees to the ground. Because when you put this head on this bird and you turn it, it doesn't really change anything. But if you got a bird that's like leaning over doing something like that, well, then that's all different. So we're going with making it easy on this one. So the bird, you were going to cut it out like that. Now, the cut line, I found a piece of wood. This is about 7 1/4 inches. It could be a little longer, it could be a little wider. But this wood is right on 90 degrees all the way around. You really want to do it that way. Run it through a table saw, get it squared up, because we're going to try to make this as symmetrical as we can. Then I take the bird. Yep, here we go. And you can probably figure out where this cut line is. It's going to be right here. And you place it, you should mark this line right here. And then the back of the tail right there. Then you go around. So I've already done it, so that's why I'm fiddling around. Trace it around. Here's where the leg is. Trace it to there, there. All the parts, you just cut out the pattern. So now you have something that looks like this. The next one's going to be the overhead view. Right. Always keep a center line running down your pattern. Always do it. And then I center lined on this one too that I cut out. And put it, this line here, just like this. You're going to go there, just keep going around drawing that line, and drawing that line like that. And by golly, that line comes out right to the breast. And you'll have to take my word for it. It works when you do it down on this end too. If you're careful, you'll be right on the money. That's what you want, that line to be there and there. This tool is very good for doing that. All right. Then, like I said, this is squared. Everything on this should be parallel to the ground. What you want to do and make life easy for yourself, because this is a bird on a stick. You know, it's the pattern I use here. You don't want to try and drill a hole by hand. It just never seems to come out very well. You do it, but you end up with a lot of dust and dirt. So where I had you carve that, where the leg was, just put a little mark there, then take this gadget right here, make a 90 degree, and put a tick right on the center. Now, if you have a drill press, which is beautiful, you're going to drill that hole right there. Just put it in about 1.5 inches up into the body. So that when you're done cutting it out, rip it apart, you have the same angle that your pattern shows and everything, straight up and down, so you're ready to go. All right, now, having done that, you got to cut it out. First cut is going to be from the overhead view. We've done this with ducks. I think you all know where we're going with this. You're going to have a point up about here. I make a mark like that. Do it on the other side. And that's just going to tell me when to stop with my blade. So you put this in with your blade and start running your blade. Come in on an angle. Start in here, go all the way up to here, here, and then you stop. Go to the next cut is all the way following closely along this up to that mark, and you stop. The next, you turn it around. Your bandsaw, you run it like this and stop here, and then you do that and you stop there. so that you don't knock them off. They're still attached, but I did do it on this one was just like this. It's pretty flippy, but it's good enough. What it does then, you have it all attached. Now you lay it on its side down, and you start cutting this out. This is pretty easy to cut out, but I'd really recommend when you do this area up here and right here, that would be the part I push into the blade on a bandsaw. It's really hard on a bandsaw to make this little curvy cut, but if you just come down and you just go in about 1/8 of an inch, then you go back here, and this is a lot easier cut. You make this, and then this one all the way up to there, and it'll come out. It may not be perfectly smooth, but it sure beats butchering it with the other one. So that's the toughest cut. This one here also, you want to start your bandsaw blade and just easily sneak it in here and drop it down like this. Then you go turn it around. You now make this cut all the way to here, and that drops off. Then you can finish either going this way up to here and make that soft curve, and then you're done. So pretty quickly you've got this shape. That's basically what you're going to be working with. Now you've all got the bird heads, and let me just get these out. On this black and white piece of paper, there's a pattern. I got a little head in there. I'd very carefully cut that out if I was you, because it's kind of handy when you take this thing and once again divide it perfectly in half, so it's with you can lay this down here and sketch around it, because remember, you're going to have to carve this head, and it's not quite like doing a duck. It's a little different. So you would end up with something like this. Then one thing I do when I get to a certain point, I always like to see what the head is going to look like on it. I don't want to get that established. So having done the drawing like that, then I'm just substituting another one. I never have enough confidence to knock a 1/4 inch or a hole in here, so, but I can get a toothpick to go in there pretty easy, and with my little Dremel tool, I will try and get it, once again, get this absolutely right in half, because this once you try to put your head on after you've cut it out, it's going to just sit just about right on the women, and then it'll be close. I make a drill mark and I push that in, put it in. You can see it's pretty close. Then I'll do a drill mark there. So then I just take that and I put it on. Now, that way you can look at it, see how you decide. I mean, it's basically, that's your profile. So you have, by the way, when you make the mark around here over that head, that's all going to be going on. You're going to take all that out. But usually I'll cut the head. I'll start carving it, and obviously it's not big, so you kind of have you got to use your head here, whether you're using power tools or I have a little hook knife that I can just kind of take it off. These are all Tupelo. This is actually white cedar, the one I originally did. So, I didn't just go wing. You got to chip. It gives you what it gives you. You just don't want to beat it up. And that'll work just fine too. Well, you'll get to that point then. Now, this tool here, actually, I use a lot with it, is because Some of you got something this long. All these will push in further. This one right here, actually, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can see where that thing goes in. You don't see the whole eye, you're just seeing a crescent. It's not necessary to do it that way, but it's that long. But what you want to try and do, as best you can, is get that bill to a point that it's going to be the right length. Now you've got this, and you've got this. And the trick of the bill, the way I lined them all up, there's a stack of them here. I'll pass that around. I did a dozen of them on one stick of wood. And you can, it's like Henry Ford, but you got to have it all lined up. But I would go from back here to, say, out to here on this bird. Now the one you got, just as an example, that bill would actually end right about here. So I would leave a little bit, but I cut that off. So that's what you're going to start using as your model.
So you're going from the back of the head?
Yeah, I use it. There's like here, just take that and pass it around. You can see the line that I run through, that I use as my line to make sure that the bill is straight. About where that comes out, I'd put these calipers right there. And then, like I say, I'd do the same thing over here where it is in the picture. You get a pretty good idea exactly where it's going to be. So you start that, and then on the top of the head, remember on the bottom I said you make this rough shape. On the top of the head, I haven't thrown that away, I hope.
You just glue that head on?
This thing right here.
You put a little dough stick in there.
Pardon?
There's something underneath your
Oh,
chair
glue the
there.
head on.
There you are.
There it is.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah.
You glue the head on, you just glue it on, and you put a little dough stick in there.
You can use that, just leave it in there and glue it. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But on the top of the head, just to make it easier for yourself, you want to get an idea, besides looking at it in this relationship here, you can see the shape of this head. Shorebirds have kind of a narrow face going in like that. But just to get yourself on line, first of all, you have your center line, you lay this out, then I would just pencil down here to here and then on the back. So you end up with something like this on the top and then on this on the bottom, and then you start taking that out either by power tool, any way you want. This little part here right on the very end of the head where the dowel goes in, I kind of leave like a shelf there. Eventually, as you carve in, that's going to blend in and the bill will actually come further in, the actual bill. So like this. It'll blend in. Okay, now, any other questions? I know every time I do this, I think I'm gonna it's a process that, you just kind of do it one step at a time. Then, if you want to work on your bird to show the shoulders in this, you have this to use here. And the feather, the way they're laid out, what I end up doing is I think, can you see how this works out? Yeah, the tertials and the feathers. So you can put them pattern, use the pattern up where the shoulders are, and that's right up here. And on the side, those shoulders actually are going to be right down to here. Using this also It's the shoulder where the pattern goes. And I usually just take something like this on the, and push it in. And that'll tell you about how far down this thing is going to go. So you get, when you start rounding the bird off, you kind of know where these things are. It's like a duck when you got the shoulders in them. Any other questions? All right, let me move to the next thing. What we're gonna do is that what you're gonna do, you're gonna find a piece of wood, and you can use this as your guide. I can tell you right now, it's about 7 1/4 inch long. That's what this one is. You don't need a whole lot of extra, but whatever you're comfortable with. So when you cut it all out, you should be ready to go there. You have this mounting stick, and as you work on this bird, it's really nice to have this, because you know, as you're looking at things, you know, if your hand's all over it, you can't do that. Like a lot of times I'll have this on just all the carving I'm doing, and at one point I'll pull it out just to smooth it out, so you can get the body shapes and that on it. But this is a good handle to do all this stuff. I think of one more thing. Eyes. Everybody should have eyes in there. These are eyes, actually. These eyes will all fit in these holes. They're just right. So you're not going to have to do too much monkeying around with that. You can shape them, do shaping. Well, Bruce, why don't you just take that and pass it around so they get a feel for that. But all your eye holes are drilled to 7 millimeter. One thing when I work on these, you have plumber's putty. Anybody? Kind of a poor man's
Epoxy sculpt.
Yeah, except it doesn't get hard. I have no problems with just plugging a couple pieces in and shoving the eyes in, and then you can measure them and do all that, and then you get an idea. Now, I think what happened last time I did this other project, by the time I got to the so-called painting part of it, I think just about everybody had painted it. You know, they were ready to go. That bird was also not terribly different in color, but it's easier to say than maybe some of these other ones with a lot of stuff on them. So, you know, I have no qualms with anybody going ahead and starting to paint their bird. I'm not going to see it for, well, Tom's going to do the next program, I'll be one after that. You can jump all over it, because it's not too difficult, but you're going to find the colors you use are going to be like raw umber, burnt sienna, that's a little reddish color that goes in it, carbon black, if you want to mix that in with stuff. And of course, white. And the legs are yellow on these birds, yellowish. I would definitely, if you really wanted to have some reality to it, look at the real killdeer. They're not glittering yellow like this. So yeah, the colors you can kind of work on. You can make them a grayish color. You can make it this reddish color. The main thing is, I think the part about getting the body shape is probably the most interesting thing, the carving. Now, any other questions? How about you, Doug? Are you in on this one?
Huh?
Are you in on this one?
I've got a bunch, I got other projects started already.
Okay. Means I'll ask the question now, it's going to be a month.
You know, this color red on this Killdeer is, I've seen millions of them in North Dakota and they're not quite that red.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you right now, these birds are not gonna, we're not gonna be knocking I use Henry Ford as a deal. We're not doing Fords here. This is the part where you guys, the artists, can look at these colors and interpret it. We're not doing a whole lot of real hard stuff here. I learned a whole lot when we did that Ruddy Turnstone. Everybody that brought their birds in, they all were a little different. And every one of them were absolutely a Ruddy Turnstone. I mean, everybody captured their own way. It didn't have to be exact. But I know everybody likes to kind of take a run at it. So photography, 5 guys could take a picture of the same bird, and a lot of times it's not going to be the same colors, just because of light and whatnot. So that's the fun part of this, I think, is getting to that point where you start slapping paint on it. And like I said, if you have questions about this, I don't know how good this one will turn out, but there's an older version of this, me going through the same thing. And actually, it only took me 2 years to look at it, but it actually worked, so. This measuring tools, because you're going to be using right off this stuff, and it's not familiar territory doing this kind of a bird, but use these, it really helps. Keeps you in, in the park. Okay.
Feel free to take home any leftover pizza.